I've been going through a stage here recently in my life where I know I'm getting ready to take another leap in my personal growth and self-awareness. And I seem to have had these experiences a lot in the past few years, where things are just kind of chugging along for a while. Not much seems to be happening. And then all of a sudden, everything comes together. Something happens, and I know I'm getting ready to make another jump ahead. And it's just interesting how everything gets brought together from the past, holding things from the past, from other people's thoughts, from comments people leave here for me, things loved ones say to me. And it all comes together in this moment when I know I'm about ready to take another leap. The thing is, these leaps are scary. Sometimes people refer to a leap of faith, and it is an act of faith because you don't know where you are going necessarily. You're stepping out without having all the answers. You're taking a leap without knowing necessarily where you are going, but you are trusting that you're going somewhere you need to go. There's something inside of you which tells you you must take this next leap. And once this thought has been put into your head, there is no turning back. And I think that's kind of where the fear comes in, because you know you're already committed by realizing it. You've committed yourself to doing it, to do it. And I think for me, what is very terrifying in it is a loss of control in a sense. These leaps, these growth spurts I've had a feeling that they are out of my control, that I am not guiding these. I am not in control in any way. And for a person who likes to be in control of things in her life, it's a very scary prospect. But I believe that for those of us who come to understand ourselves and who we are, and who start to see ourselves for our potential, what we could be, when we start to look at ourselves the way we look at everyone else in the world, I think when we turn the mirror around and when we see our potential, that's when big things can happen for us. I've said this before so many times, but when you know who you are, that's when purpose starts to take shape. We need to know who we are before we can see the purpose in our lives. That doesn't mean we can't do good things before we know who we are, because we can. But again, we're doing it almost unknowingly. We're doing it with a sort of innocence. And I've said it before, but I don't believe this kind of helping is as effective. Because in our immaturity, in our lack of self-awareness, we tend to give people what they want and not what they need. But once you've started this process of self-discovery, in a sense, you've lost control of the ride. And once you've opened your eyes to the fact that you don't know who you are, it's too late to turn back. You're already starting down this road, and as terrifying as it is, it's equally as exhilarating. Because you're starting to give yourself what you need. So I think for us, it's about discovering our potential, and it's to see ourselves truly as an individual that can make a difference in other people's lives, in a powerful way that changes lives. And I mean that which changes them on a grand scale. And I wouldn't be saying this if I hadn't already experienced it in my own life, because I have. I've helped people in powerful ways, and I know this is still in my future, that I will still be doing this in my future. And in some ways, I feel like this is just beginning for me. But it's scary, because again, I feel like I have no control over it. So as is the case, I came across a quote this past week, and the way I came about it seemed to be kind of randomly, but I don't believe in that. So I came across this quote from the Danish philosopher Kierkegaard, and when I read it, I knew immediately there was something to it. He said, "Anxiety is the dizziness of freedom." I've been experiencing some anxiety as of late, because like I said, I know I'm ready to take another leap in my personal growth, and it has caused me anxiety because I don't know what that leap is. Where is it going? I sort of have a hazy idea, but I don't really know. So when I found this quote, it really hit me hard because of the deep meaning in it. So Kierkegaard argues that anxiety is basically unfocused fear. It comes about because we have possibilities in life, and he kind of likened it to standing on the edge of a cliff. If you look over the side of a cliff, you experience this fear of falling, but then you also have this impulse to throw yourself over the edge. So you have this sense of anxiety because it awakens in you the nature of possibility. You have a choice to do one thing or another. You have complete freedom to choose your options, but it's that freedom to choose that causes the anxiety, which is why he calls it the dizziness of freedom. Kierkegaard said, and I quote, "But he who sank in possibility, his eye became dizzy, his eye became confused. Whoever is educated by possibility is exposed to danger, not that of getting into bad company and going astray in various ways, as are those educated by the finite, but in danger of a fall, namely suicide. If, at the beginning of education, he misunderstands the anxiety, so that it does not lead him to faith but away from faith, then he is lost. On the other hand, whoever is educated by possibility remains with anxiety. He does not permit himself to be deceived by its countless falsification, and accurately remembers the past. Then, the assaults of anxiety, even though they be terrifying, will not be such that he flees from them. For him, anxiety becomes a serving spirit that against its will leads him where he wishes to go." I find it interesting how Kierkegaard uses the analogy of the cliff, because by hurling yourself over the cliff, you are committing suicide. In my experience, and I know this is graphic, but I have found there is a sense that I must kill something off about myself that no longer serves me. And I've said this here before, but there is a suicide of sorts, because I have to kill something off in my own person that doesn't fit the narrative of who I am anymore. It could have been something I believed about myself that someone else told me was true, or something I had convinced myself that was true that is no longer true, or was never true, and I have to cut it away, cut it off, and that's scary, to have to die to yourself in such a way. Because that belief was comforting. I clung to it as truth. But there comes a day when you know it is not true, it was never true, and it's time to get rid of it. But you can't just get rid of something without replacing it with something else, and that's the scary part, because you aren't sure what you are replacing it with in the moment. You only know you have to replace it. And that's where the leap of faith comes in, because you have to distance yourself from that part of you that is no longer serving you, from that part of you that is not a part of you and never was a part of you. It was only a delusion. So in a sense, anxiety is necessary in order to achieve freedom. And that really has struck a chord with me this past week, as I have been going through some personal experiences in my life that have been very powerful, very scary, and yet at the same time, very exciting, and have filled me with such great hope. I know, for us, that once this awakening process begins, once you know you don't know, it's too late to turn back. You have to jump over the cliff. You can't say no to it. And you have to trust that it's the right thing to do. The more you trust your intuition, the more reliable it becomes. You can't deny your intuition as an INFJ. It's a strong force in your life, no matter how old you are. However, in immaturity, it is not used as the tour de force it can be. But when you awaken to the possibilities of your intuition, when you're standing on the cliff, that's when the good things are going to start for you, and not only for you, but for others as well. This whole discovery process, it depends on so much. Remember, you are more than your type. There are so many things that factor into your self-discovery and when it begins for you. Your circumstances, your experiences, your culture, your childhood, your parents, your genetics. There are so many things that weigh into a person's individual life. You can take two INFJs who've had completely different experiences in life and put them together, and you will not find the same thing. So this could be happening for you in your younger years, or it could be happening for you well into older age. It doesn't matter. If it's happening, there's a reason it's happening. I don't believe you're going to open your eyes to the potential of who you are and then not have time to do something with it. So many of those of our type spend their lives in self-delusion, and that's because it's terrifying to look inside, because ultimately it means you must change. And it's the reason why for so many years I didn't want to look inside. I didn't want to do honest business with myself because I knew I needed to change. And even now, I know there are things about me which must change, and it's scary to me. But every time I've made a leap, I don't regret it. And I see why it had to happen, who it affected, the beautiful which came out of it. And I trust I'm in the middle of one of these experiences again, and I trust that it will continue to happen to me throughout my life. Self-discovery is difficult, no doubt about it. But there's true freedom in it. Freedom to be you. Freedom to be who you are and not what others say you are. Not how you see yourself in others, but what you see in yourself. People who embrace their strengths in life, people who understand that there is deep and meaningful purpose for them in life, those are the most impactful people. I think it's easy in this world for most people, or for many, to speak of their purpose. For many out there, it is very clear-cut. It is not as mysterious. It is not as nebulous as it is for us. For us, I believe purpose is a very mysterious thing. It doesn't seem as clear-cut as it does for the rest of the world. I know this has to do with our intuition. It's a very mysterious thing. Even I do not fully understand it, and I don't believe I ever will, but I don't believe I have to understand it as much as I have to obey it, to trust it. That's the key. And I've said this before about ourselves. We don't need to fully understand ourselves in order to understand our purpose. You just need to know enough. All you have to know is enough to get you to the next destination in life. You don't have to have everything spelled out in front of you. You don't have to have all the keys all at once, the entire map opened up in front of you. You get what you need when you need it. And then you take that next step. And every step you take like that is exactly what Kierkegaard says. He does not permit himself to be deceived by its countless falsification, and he accurately remembers the past. Because you say, look, I did this. This all came together for me in this mysterious way. And I remember something in me made me take all that evidence and make that leap. And now look what's happening as a result. And as you go along, because you know great things have happened, you don't run away from the next opportunity. You don't say no to the next opportunity. You take it. You see where it goes. You trust the process. And that's what it is for us. You trust the process. You trust the intuition. It's a guide. And I think even for such dreamers as we are, and I know this to be true for my own life, even I can't imagine where it's going to take me. Every time I've taken a leap, every time I've taken that next step, I look back and I am in awe of where it has brought me. And there's power in that. You can look back and see those milestones and say, yes, this is exactly where I need to be. Let your intuition lead you where you wish to go.